Motion carries. On with new business, school improvement plans. Dr. Zalis is going to kick off a little session introducing different principles as to where we stand.
Quickly, I just want to reconnect to our school improvement plan, CSEP. Why we're doing what we're doing tonight is directly related to the comprehensive school improvement plan. And to those that may be watching tonight or watch us in the future, and even for the benefit of Mrs. Jameson, a relatively new board member, and I think all of us. The CSEP that we have has 5 major goal areas. The comprehensive school improvement plan, I won't read those to you. And we last year, this was approved by the board in spring of 2014. And so it's still a document that, a process that involved the community. So 100 people's names were submitted, both parents, patrons, students. Some people in the room served on those committees. That became the impetus even for the bond and levy last year, with early childhood as one of the focuses under, certainly under student performance. I won't read these to you, but each one of the goals then have descriptors and strategies for each one of those. And what you're going to see tonight as we roll through these relatively quick, that all of the school improvement plans that you hear tonight will have a relationship back to the comprehensive school improvement plan. The resources that we use to support the schools and support the CSIP are directed through our professional development plan. So there is a very focused effort on the things that are happening in the building that relate to what we're doing as a comprehensive school improvement plan. So the building level implementation is what we're going to hear tonight. Individual school improvement plans from the middle school, Wyman, Mark Twain, and Truman will be presented to you. On November 12th, we'll hear the secondary schools. And then also on November 12th, we will have a formal approval of the expenditures it takes to carry through with the professional development budget. You've already approved the professional development budget, but this is the specific second look at that. So with that, I think according to the board agenda, we have a Wyman Elementary up first. So I'll give it to Dr. Ray, and he has some helpers with him.
Good evening. Good to see everybody here.
Good to see you.
Just to introduce myself to the folks at home, I'm Dr. Corey Ram, principal of Wyman Elementary. This is my 3rd year as building principal, and it's been a wonderful 3 years. It's been a great move. I came from the high school, and it's been awesome, fantastic. Great staff, great parents. And helping me present tonight, I have a couple of those people. I have Miss Katie Curtis, our 4th grade teacher, wonderful teacher in the building, also aspiring counselor in the future. She's also our PBS leader for our team at the building. Also, I have Mrs. Carla Clayton, who's also with me. Excellent parent, highly involved. She's our PTO treasurer, and has had some input with this as we've gone through the process, which I'll outline a little bit. So as Dr. Zaus was mentioning, our goals at Wyman Elementary are completely aligned with our comprehensive school improvement plan. They don't vary at all. In fact, some of the language within these goals for our strategies comes directly from the CSIP that was just presented to you. It's a comprehensive effort, starting, and really the process starts previous spring, so last spring, with the evaluations that I put out to the staff for my own leadership and performance, was taken into account in developing this plan. Also, coming into this fall, we made a Google Doc with all our previous goals from 14-15. Gave it out to the teachers, shared it out as one group. They typed on each goals, each grade level did, giving input respectively to the goals and how we did and what we need to do going forward. So everybody was able to look at everybody else's comments and thought processes, and it was an efficient way to go about it. And we're trying to use Google as much as we possibly can. It's been a valuable educational tool. And then finally, culminating in meeting with my PTO and giving them a draft of this document, having them take it home and kind of soak it up a little bit, and then providing a survey over these areas to the parents of the Wyman zone, which was done last Friday. Had some really good responses. Not everything that was said in those responses will be found in this plan, but certainly will generate some internal discussion with, some of the things that we do at Wyman. So really good feedback. I was really happy with what we got back in that regard. So this time, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Curtis to talk about the parent and community involvement, since she's pretty well involved in that.
One of the new initiatives that we started last year was a Pride Parenting Night for our parents. We used Dr. Deb Frost, who's pictured there on the screen. She came in, she works at Pathways, and she came in and talked to parents about some strategies that they could use at home. It used a lot of the same language that we use with PBS or positive behavior supports, and it gave parents some things to try, because we found that we had a lot of parents coming into conferences saying, I want to help, but I'm not sure how. How can I help from home? And so Dr. Frost came in and we did 30-minute presentations, just fed dinner, had childcare for the students, and she was able to give them strategies, things like the 4-to-1, 4 positives to every negative that you give. So we can carry those things that we're doing in the classroom to the home environment as well. So, and this year in 4th grade, which is my grade level, we're also planning a MAP meeting for parents to kind of give them an overview of the questions that we're seeing, because parents are struggling to help their students with some of the math, and so it's going to give them an opportunity to look at what some of the questions look like. How can they help their students? What resources are available to them online? And from us as teachers, what can we do to help students be more prepared? And then another method that we're using throughout the building is Class Dojo, and that's a way for us to monitor behavior, and it gives parents real-time feedback. So if I give a student a positive point for being short, straight, and silent in the hallway, the parent can see that, and they can have an app on their phone, they can get a weekly report, and keep track of how their child is doing. It also has a new messenger this year, so it's basically like sending a text message to a teacher, but through the app, so we can communicate efficiently that way. And again, that 4-to-1, it helps us track and make sure that we're interacting with students in a positive manner for the majority of the time.
Any solid school district is really dependent upon the people working within that school district or within that building. That's really where headway is made in the education of kids. So it's extremely important that we professionally develop our teachers on a regular basis. All our teachers' professional development plans, they sit down with me every fall and review their previous year's professional development plans, along with talking about their goals for this year. And those are directly related to our SIP plan or the CSIP, particularly with parent involvement, which Katie just talked about. This year, we're trying to focus on functional behavior assessment training, or FBA training for short. It's really dealing with getting down to the nuts and bolts of why kids are doing what they're doing in terms of the behavior. And the reason we're trying to focus on that is with the initiative going forward with distributing SPED throughout the district so that they're all served within their own respective zones, but we're going to get kids back to us that we haven't normally dealt with before, so in terms of behaviors. So be able to prepare for that, we're going to be training some of our teachers to be able to do these functional behavior assessments so that we can iron down what kids are doing, why they're acting the way they're acting, and then provide some intervention as such. We also try to professionally develop our bus drivers as well. Buses have always been a source of disciplinary consequences. Anytime you get behind the wheel of a bus and you've got 70 kids, varying of ages from kindergarten to 12th grade, that's a difficult situation for anybody. So we try to professionally develop our bus drivers as best we can in terms of handling things in a positive manner, giving away bus bucks, which goes along with our buzz bucks, which is part of our PBS program where kids can earn something called a Buzz Bash. And that may be something as simple as an extra recess or pajamas. They love wearing pajamas to school. Little simple things like that that really doesn't take away from the educational part of things. Provide some fun for them that they look forward to. So they start earning those positive things, and the bus drivers are involved in that. What you're seeing up here is on the screen is our bus drivers coming into a breakfast that we provide for them every year. And we generally have a PowerPoint running, talking about positive behaviors, what you should be doing on your bus, tips for helping guide behaviors in a positive manner. And then, I'm in there talking with the bus drivers as well about how things are going and what we can do to support them. Prevention consultants and their instructional resources, it's been an invaluable tool for us at Wyman Elementary because it gives an opportunity for kids to build relationships with somebody other than school personnel. And lots of those times, I mean, they're dealing with college kids. So not only does it give them the opportunity to build relationships, but build relationship with somebody that's striving to achieve the best that they can and working towards bettering their life. And we've seen great results with that in terms of behavior and just wanting to come to school, increasing attendance, various options. Cool. Instructional resources is a push and will continue to be a push. 3 years ago, when I first started, I talked with Ms. Ginger King about the possibility of getting iPad cards in each grade level, and we were able to make that happen, not just within the building, but across the district. Thanks to everybody that was involved in that. And now, going forward, they've got that access. They're wanting more. I'd like to use this more in my classroom. I've got my feet wet. I'm starting to get proficient with this stuff. Can I use this more towards helping kids? So the next step is adding more instructional resources to these classrooms, probably in the form of Chromebooks, depending upon the grade level. They're still field testing the Chromebooks, and we'll be seeing where these would be most appropriate, to be served in what grade level, depending upon how we're going to use them. We still need to come up with the plan of action of the time frame and how they're going to be used, and we'll be sitting down and working on that. And then, of course, we have all kinds of technological resources that we use, from Fast Forward, which is an intervention we use for auditory processing, to what are some other things, Katie? Help me out.
Well, we're using Google Classroom a lot this year.
Okay. Well, we're using Google Classroom a lot in my class this year, pushing out assignments to students and allowing them to turn them in electronically. So we're doing that. We also are using Study Island and those kind of things just as a review tool. But the students are really excited about Classroom and having their own drive and being able to create things and then keeping them in their drive as they move forward. So.
We'll continue to look forward to that, because is that something that we're going to be using in the kindergarten? Maybe so. Christopher Wright is a magician up there with helping us get proficient with our technological tools. So maybe that happens somewhere down the road. But certainly it's happening right now in 4th grade, and we'll continue to do so in other grade levels. All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Katie.
We do a universal screening for behavior each year, just like we do for AR for reading. We get a benchmark of where students are. We do the same thing for behavior. We send out a short Google form to teachers, and they fill it out on each student within the building. And so in that way, we're able to catch those students maybe before they get 4 or 5 discipline referrals. And a new change that we've added is to do an internalizing screener. So we're catching those students with anxiety, depression, those sorts of things, and intervening early. So just the same way we do with academics, we're doing that with behavior as well. And we were able to participate in a study with Dr. Mitchell from Mizzou, and we implemented a Coping Cat anxiety group last year, and we saw some pretty strong effects from that as well. So.
Ms. Clayton is going to talk to us next about our initiative about maybe adding some more playground equipment at Wyman.
All right, the Wyman PTO is pursuing some additional playground equipment for our school. This additional equipment will include the pre-K needs as a result of the reconfiguration of the district. Some areas that we're currently focusing on right now would be design, the equipment design. We want to make sure that we have age-appropriate equipment for the students. We're also looking at the location options. Right now, we do have an allocated location for the preschool, so we want to kind of look and see if we can do some reconfiguration in that area. As far as funding goes, we're looking at grants. We have an individual that's doing some grant research for us in hopes that we can get some funding for the project. And also, our PTO is looking at fundraising opportunities to generate some revenue. So we have the full support of our PTO committee, and we're working to make this initiative successful. And it's important for us that our students at Wyman have an enjoyable playground experience.
So we're really excited about moving forward with that, and it's an expensive endeavor. As you well know, playground equipment is not cheap, nor is the padding that goes along with it, or depending upon what surface you're going to be using. But I'm confident that we'll make this happen, somewhere down the line, sure. The reason for this slide right here is it's all about student performance. This plan is about student performance and preparing students for their futures. We're always looking to increase our MAP scores. We did find this last year in MAP. It's not where we want to be. We want to continue to improve based upon the numbers I've seen. But we did fine. We held our own. But through the analysis of some data with our MAP scores and reading levels presented by the STAR test, that's the test we use to gauge a student's reading level. It's something that we give on a semi-regular basis. That tool is going to provide us some real-time data and some good tracking, progress monitoring data to see how our students are doing. Because when we linked reading levels to performance, there's, as you would think, there is definitely a correlation. If students can read and comprehend, they're going to be able to do well in math. And it was pretty remarkable that the ELA results and the MAP results, or math results, really mirrored each other. So when I presented that data to the staff, they jumped on board with both feet, talking about, well, if we're going to do student growth measures, we need to do it in reading, because then we're going to be killing two birds with one stone based upon the data that you're presenting us at this point in time. So as we've gone through the process through our school development our school development days, some grade levels we're focused on math, or some other things. Our teachers are still going to be adding on a second one for ourselves to say, okay, we still want to do this. As a district, we're going to worry about math and multiplication at this point in this particular grade level, but I'd like to add on reading as part of my professional development goals going forward, so I can see if we can get these kids going in the right direction. So I was pretty excited about that. And this is along the same lines. That STAR testing tool is, we weren't fully utilizing it. It was always been there, but it's like anything else. If you have tools in your toolbox that you rarely use, or semi-use every once in a while, and you don't really know the depth of what they can use them, then they're not used to their maximum efficiency. So really looking forward to utilizing that in progress monitoring students over the next year and see how they're doing in their reading. This is a picture of our students dancing in the hallway. We do the Fight Free school, and when we're Fight Free for 10 consecutive days, we get kids out in the hallway and we dance about it. I'll be the DJ, and they'll give me a song request, and we did the Nay Nay the other day. So
Now, are you dancing too?
Riva does.
Okay.
My secretary.
I didn't answer the question exactly,
All
Dr.
right.
Ray.
Yeah.
He's singing.
I don't know if you want to see me dance too much.
now.
You can ask Stephanie Grisham about that when I was at the high school.
Yeah, I think there's video of that, actually.
Yeah, but
We can
But-
practice tonight.
that's right, right. But this slide really is to show you that we have a lot of our kids at school all the time. In fact, we reach our goals on a regular basis in terms of 93% of our students attending at least 90% of the time, which has been a great goal, and we've achieved it, and we're going to continue to look forward to achieving it. So our attendance has been great. And then finally, the last one's for me. The last statement on this slide is drawn from my own evaluation from the staff about effective discipline practices. Discipline at the elementary is difficult. It's probably the most difficult thing I've found at this point in time in how to effectively give a consequence to change behavior, because that's really what it's about. You don't just discipline kids just to say, I got you. Discipline them to say, okay, you don't do this again. And I want to make sure you don't do this again, so this has to be something that you value. So you don't really want to do recess, because kids need to be out and playing, burning off that energy. You don't kick them out of school, because there's nothing tied to that other than just a day off of school. So what do you do? So that's part of my own professional development goal, and it's going to be part of this process as well, is that looking for alternative disciplinary consequences that children feel are important, that they value, that's linked to what they value, so that behavior changes. That's it. That's the conclusion of our presentation.
So just prepare yourselves, because I'm going to ask the same question. We see some pretty significant differences in subgroups in our performance data. What specifically are you guys targeting to address free and reduced lunch, IEP kids, to really sort of close that gap in performance?
I think what we do on a grade level basis is just the response to intervention that we perform on each grade level. Like for kindergarten, those teachers separate those kids out by level. And if you look at it from a social economic point of view, a lot of those kids that are on the lower social economic end are in that one group. So the mantra for me ever since I've been at Wyman is you meet kids where they're at
Yep.
and you progress them from there.
Well, and if you guys can, at the elementary school, can close that gap,
Absolutely.
that's going to carry through for the rest of their 12 years with us.
Absolutely.
So I think it's critical you guys have focused on that, and I just want to, just a heads up, I'm going to ask everybody the same question. So.
Well, and that's certainly not lost on me because being at the high school level, you know, and coming from that position to an elementary position and seeing where kids end up, the importance of what we do at the elementary goes without question. So, and like I said, we've gotten some good feedback from parents too, you know, to generate some internal discussions. Let's take a look at what we're doing. Is it effectively helping kids? If it's not, let's change.
I love the stuff you were talking about bringing the parents in and talking to them about how they can help their kids, because I think in some of those groups, the parents are as lost as the kids are sometimes.
Right.
So I applaud you guys for that.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
You bet.
You mentioned playground, and when I was a student at Colonel Wyman Elementary, a long time ago, we had this beautiful field that, do we have any grass at Colonel Wyman anymore for playground?
There is grass area outside the fence area. There, we have a row of trees, you know, that it's just a small row of trees, of apple trees that were planted some years ago. There are grass areas and not places where we have opened up
Oh, okay.
to kids yet. Could we potentially do that? Yes. That's something that was brought up in some of the parent things that,
Oh,
that I
really?
saw. Yeah, I actually saw one of that on my
I was thinking, I just couldn't picture it anymore if there was
Yeah.
any.
No,
grass.
it's all asphalt, and then we've got some pea gravel. There is a grass area in the early childhood
Oh, is there?
playground area,
For the modulars
but that's
used
just
to
for
be.
the ECSC kids right now.
We had that dreaded hill for balls would roll down,
Well, I
and
guarantee,
lost forever.
yeah. Well, it's still there, and
Yeah.
they even make it over the fence from time to time. I've had to make it down that hill, and
It was a
you
big
know.
deal if you got to go down the hill to get
Right?
the rescue
Yeah,
ball.
and you got to be careful about that because you know kids enjoy that. Hey, can I go get that ball? You know
Yeah.
what? I'll take this one. So, or they'll end up on the roof. So.
I was really glad to hear the strong focus on English, the language arts, and reading, especially as more and more nationwide, there's a push towards improving STEM by pushing it to the lower grades. You know, to me, you can't forget that really the primary thing that kids need to be able to do by third grade, fourth grade is read
Absolutely.
at level, and that's going to improve their performance in everything else if they're reading at level. So,
Well, the other thing that the STAR does for us, it plots that for those teachers. Lots of times, teachers aren't always great at data analysis. You know, I'm a math guy, I can do that. You know, they want to teach. You know, they'll take assessment data, and they'll plan accordingly based upon their assessment data. But to do a longitudinal study about how kids are going, sometimes that gets lost. But with the STAR testing program, you're able to do that. You're able to set goals. You're able to see where they're going and how things are being plotted out, and if interventions are working or if they're not working. So I'm excited about it. I'm excited that they're excited about it, and they're excited about looking at the data to see how their kids are doing.
The STAR testing is you go as far as you can. Is that the program I'm thinking of? You continue to test and test and test until you start to run into things you can't do. Am I remembering that correctly?
It's adaptable, and correct me if I'm wrong, Katie. You can jump in anytime.
Here's your
It's
chance.
adaptable, kind of like the Missouri Assessment
Yeah,
Program
yeah.
testing
Yeah.
system is supposed
But
to be.
unlike the AR where you're sort of testing, I've read this book and
Right.
I can answer these questions. This keeps going
It's
and
going until
till you
it
start to.
just levels out to see where they're at.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, yeah.
see how their comprehension's
Yeah,
going.
I don't think my kids did STAR. We did AR.
That'll be good.
So, if I can ask a question then
Yes,
about
sir.
math. So math has changed a little bit, so are you having to instruct the parents on how to,
You
on
know-
the concepts?
That's a great question, Mr. Packard, about that, because that also came up in the parent surveys back. You may have to bring us in to show us how to teach, you know, this math stuff from Common Core. Here's where I'm at with that as well. Math hasn't changed, you know. Common Core gives you another way to teach, to reach kids. It's another strategy that we can use to reach kids. It's not the only method that we use to try to reach kids. And I think that's what gets lost on parents, that they think this is Common Core, this is the way it has to be done. That's not how we do it. That's not how it needs to be done. What we try to differentiate is just one more tool in the toolbox to be able to teach a kid how to do a problem. You know, like repeated subtraction for division. You know, we did that today in Ms. Curtis's class. I helped a kid with repeated subtraction.
Subtracting by adding?
Subtracting, but whatever, yeah. All those types of things, right? So.
That's Kansas math.
Hey, math guys.
And for this particular, yeah, there you go. And for this particular kid I was working with, you know, he didn't have his multiplication facts memorized enough to be able to go backwards. So he was able to see the repeated subtraction and say, okay, 18 divided by 6 is 3. 1, 2, 3. I had to subtract 3 times. So until they grasp that number sense. So.
Well, that's key. It's just a different tool, and we know, you guys know, kids learn differently.
Yeah.
Every kid learns differently.
Yeah, so it's just another tool in the toolbox.
Another tool.
The standards are there, they're good standards, but the Common Core itself doesn't dictate how we teach kids.
Very good.
Corey, are you getting, you and the folks at Colonel Wyman getting what you need to know and be prepared for the transition in the fall of 2017? Are we doing a good job of getting that word out and what's happening and how it's going to happen and all that? I mean,
Dr. Zaus and the Supes have done a great job of keeping it out in front of us and keeping us informed as we go along with the process, getting out and speaking to our faculties, you know, getting out to our parent groups and speaking to them about the process. You know, we got Jenny Ravenel's solar system, you know,
Hey, you said that, not
that,
me.
that we're going to be sharing out with the staff as well and with our parents. We're going to try to get Dr. Zaus, I know how to do this, come to our parent-teacher organization meeting, you know, in a month or so to talk about it. We're going to schedule him this month, but he teaches class because he does all kinds of things. So we're getting all the information we need. You know, you can give out as much information as you can and keep talking. There's still going to be people that aren't hearing the message or hear it in a way that, you know, it wasn't intended.
Sure.
So I think it'll just be ongoing conversations, even internally with my own staff, just like the SLOs, you know, our student learning objectives. We'd been talking about that at Wyman for the last 2 years. So they weren't, to my knowledge, weren't really afraid of the process because we talked about it. It's just about growth. That's it.
Right.
How are your students growing? And what do we need to do for you to help your students grow? How can we develop you? You know, so it's just an ongoing process, continual conversations. And they've done a great job of keeping us informed, which helps us keep our staff informed.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
Thank
All
you.
right, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you,
Ms.
thank
Curtis,
you.
thank you.